What's up, everybody? This is your boy Chainsaw. When TERFs attack, it's time to put on that mask and cape and suit up, I guess. Let's just jump right into it. We have got a ton to discuss here. This actually kind of started for me. About a week ago, a mutual on social media had posting something along the lines of TERFs on the prowl or something like that. You know, basically that the TERF crowd was really hitting it hard, or TERFs on the hunt, or some kind of crap like that, right? And that they were going to be shutting down their account on social media for a week. So what the hell is going on? And then, well, to jump fast forward, it was actually another mutual who had posted this article the following day, and we'll get to that in a second. But I caught this article here from Insider, how the swatting site Kiwi Farms has created a bizarre alliance between MAGA's Marjorie Taylor Greene and transgender activists. What? But wait, there's more. It gets super interesting here. Trans activists have long campaigned against Kiwi Farms, a trolling website that New York Magazine once referred to as the web's biggest community of stalkers. But on Wednesday, an unlikely ally joined the fight to get famously transphobic forum taken offline. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Jewish space laser lady, the far-right Georgian Republican, joined the chorus of people calling for action against Kiwi Farms after she was targeted in a swatting incident that the police have linked to the website. What the hell is going on? Clarica Falls Sorrenti, a Twitch streamer who leads the Drop Kiwi Farms campaign, in a tweet expressing disbelief at the campaign's newest potential recruit. What? We're going to get into that here in just a second. This is exciting. I won't play the video. Check out Kavals, at Kavals on Twitter, for the video there. The hateful online forum has created strange bedfellows, a bizarre alliance between a controversial conservative lawmaker and transgender online activist. You know what? What the hell? We'll go ahead and play it. Christ, they're going to make me go this whole thing, aren't they?
But also the police report states something else fairly alarming, that the suspect claims that he or she is connected to this website, which is a site that actually supports cyber stalking. The suspect even gave police their username. So basically, as you pointed out, this is a suspect admitted to intending to do harm via cyber stalking. You said you fully want to, prosecute whomever did this, and I'm assuming that suspect is still at large, right?
Yes, there's an investigation underway, and there's an even investigation into whether that's really the person that did this. But isn't it concerning that such a website exists? Like, why does that even exist? That website needs to be taken down. There should be no business or any kind of service where you can target your enemy. That's absolutely absurd. And this is the type of lawlessness that Democrats want all over the country. You know, the Democrats are the party of defund the police, which has created crime that is going out of control all over the country. But it's also failure of our government and failure of our law enforcement to not take down a website like that. Like, all of these types of groups need to be completely eradicated. They should not be allowed to exist. They should not be able to abuse police resources like that. And police officers, we need more police officers. We don't have enough right now. They need to be able to respond to traffic accidents as real emergencies, and to calls where they've got to save someone's life, not be part of a prank or a potential, way to kill someone. So, that has to end.
So there's a bizarrely and obnoxiously pro-free speech Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for authoritarian removal of this website Kiwi Farms for essentially swatting her, and I don't know what to say about this. Acting, I guess, as a sort of tertiary ally to the trans community against this group of far right psychopaths who are doxing and swatting trans people. Now, swatting Marjorie Taylor Greene. So I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene is the new ally or accomplice to the trans community. I don't know how this works, but I'm super stoked about it. Can folks actually even see the screen? Let me pull this in just a little bit here. Max that out. All right. What Kiwi Farms is and how did it start? Kiwi Farms is an online forum and image sharing website, and we're going to jump into all of this. So stick around. You're going to love it, I tell you. Kiwi Farms is an online forum image sharing website dedicated to trolling and harassment of people whom the users deem to be eccentric and voluntarily making fools of themselves, according to the website's self-description. It launched in 2009 as an image board, CWCKI, a forum to troll Christine Weston Chandler, who's also known as Chris Chan or Sonichu. Online insiders Charlotte Colombo reported by the forum rebranded as Kiwi Farms 2015 February, per Know Your Meme, marking a shift in the website's focus. The scope of users' harassment widened to lolcows, a portmanteau of LOL and cows, which has become a niche meme used to describe anyone who can be milked for laughs. Many of those targeted are transgender and neurodivergent people whom Kiwi Farms uses regularly, refer to slurs and dead names. The birth names of trans people who change their names as part of their gender transition. Last week, Insider reported on the use of Kiwi Farms and the harassment of a group of armed trans alpaca ranchers in Colorado. Specific harassment campaigns have been so relentless and vicious that Kiwi Farms has been linked to 3 suicides, Insider reported. Following the June 2021 suicide of Near, a software developer whom Kiwi Farms users had targeted, DreamHost gave the website owner Joshua Moon notice that it would no longer offer domain registration services per Vice News. The website temporarily began using a Russian server before moving to an American server. Cloudflare, the internet infrastructure company that provides DDoS protection services to several websites, doesn't host Kiwi Farms, but Axios has reported that it offers several services to keep the website online. Now activists want Cloudflare to cut services to the trolling website. A transgender activist was targeted in a hotel she'd fled to after being swatted, and this is part of what I'd initially posted after I read Kafal's tweets, and apparently Kafal's, I guess, and this is alleged from the tweets, had alleged to have had the information on Joshua Moon and allegedly doxed him in retribution. So that's a thing that I read. I haven't checked if it's still on Twitter, but you see for yourself there. In retribution for what we're about to find out here, a transgender activist targeted in a hotel she'd fled after being swatted. In August of this year, Clara Sorrenti, also known as Kafals, said she had to go into hiding after a months-long doxing campaign, and that happened at the beginning of August, I believe. Against her on Kiwi Farms escalated into a terrifying swatting incident. Swatting is the act of sending police officers to an unsuspecting victim's home under the false pretenses. It gets its name from SWAT units, which are usually called in to deal with active shooters in similar situations. Clara Sorrenti, in a YouTube video, Sorrenti explained how she was targeted in a swatting incident. The police in London, Ontario arrived at her home and accused her of sending violent emails to local politicians. She was arrested and her electronic devices were seized, for insiders Lindsay Dogson, but the local police confirmed that she was later released without charges. Following the incident, Sorrenti, her fiancé, and their cat moved into a local hotel. Still, she said she was once again doxxed when Kiwi Farms were able to identify the hotel from a photo of the bedding. She also said she received 5 pizzas that she didn't request, ordered to her room using her dead name, of course. Insiders Rebecca Cohen reported. Kafals has now fled to an undisclosed location in Europe, seeking to avoid harassment, as she said on social media. And in response to the harassment, she spearheaded the hashtag Drop Kiwi Farms campaign. Campaign demands that Cloudflare cut services to Kiwi Farms, just as it did with the neo-Nazi Daily Stormer website in 2017. A person who claimed responsibility for the swatting cited Green's stance on transgender youth rights. On Wednesday morning, Green was targeted in a swatting incident. Police officers in Rome, Georgia, responded to a call saying a man had been shot 5 times in a bathtub. They arrived at an address in Floyd County, the home of Green, who met the officers at the door. Green told officers there was no issue, per a police report shared by the Daily Dot. The police later received a call from a person using a computer-generated voice who said they had been trying to swat Green in connection with her stance on transgender youth rights, per the police report. Last week, Green introduced a bill that would bar gender-affirming care for trans minors. The Protect Children's Innocence Act would ban numerous medical procedures that treat gender dysphoria in transgender minors. So not exactly a saint. The person who called the police with a computer-generated voice described themselves as a Kiwi Farms user with the username Autistic Right. Oh, Jesus Christ. Green said investigators weren't certain about the person's identity, but nonetheless expressed concern that such a website existed. The website needs to be taken down, Green told Newsmax on Wednesday. There should be no business of any kind or service where you can target your enemy. That's absolutely absurd. Green, Falls, and Cloudflare did immediately respond to requests from Insider, and that's how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Amazing, just amazing. Now, again, I had posted this on Twitter the following day, so I guess, or the previous day after I'd read this article. The article came out on the 25th of August. I posted this on the 28th, as you can see here. Nice, cute little video of protesters in Texas, basically, showing up to harass, folks at a drag event, and apparently there's the folks who are armed there are in support of the attendees of the drag event. So I of course tweeted, "Pride militia is how you get Trumpers to 180 on gun control, hypocrite bigots." And this is just a couple of weeks after Kiwi Farms doxed and swatted a trans streamer. The TERF vibes in Texas, of course, the very next day, so I guess the 29th, was when I saw that article posted by a mutual of mine. Now, I found that super, super interesting, but it doesn't stop there. That's how the week started. Again, the beginning of the week, the TERF attack would not end here, and this is why we're making this video at the end of the week. You may recall my mentioning the interaction between the Humanist Report's Mike Figueredo and J.K. Rowling several months back. Now, I had originally posted about this and shared about this during some of my interactions with a group of anti-trans folks and some behavioral TERFs who decided that it was probably a better idea to stick up for them than to just let sleeping dogs lie in support of transphobic trad wives. But let's get the take from Mike here, because he did some recent things that happened at the end of this week here that grabbed his attention just as well. So let's take a listen.
He's anti-trans, quite literally. This is an anti-trans charlatan who doesn't think that kids should get gender-affirming care. He's in lockstep with Republicans in the United States. And people politely responded to J.K. Rowling and tried to point this out. For example, Aaron wrote, "Joanne, you are literally pushing a conversion therapist. He belongs to an organization calling for 100% detransition, that calls each youth who goes on to transition a failure, that seeks to eliminate youth transition, that calls HRT opposite-sex imitation medicine." Now,
keeping in mind this is and it cuts off there at the end of the clip here, or at least from my projection. Here's studio, we got new problems. But this was originally his video from April 4th of this year, with regard to his interaction with J.K. Rowling. So let's continue there. She had posted some, she if you follow or if you've seen anything on J.K. Rowling on social media, on Twitter, she constantly posting anti-trans TERF trash, and she had posted a video of basically in support of gender affirming care or against gender affirming care by a so-called doctor, and turned out some of her followers tried to assist and correct her with facts, and she wasn't having any part of that.
This person noted that he lacks the credentials that he claims to have. Bell has not actually worked clinically with trans people. He has no relevant expertise. He was a staff governor with no clinical involvement and is facing disciplinary procedure. So ask yourself this question: why wouldn't J.K. Rowling tweet out the peer-reviewed studies that show that gender-affirming care for young people saves lives? It's medically necessary. It reduces rates of depression and suicidality. Why would she tweet out this one quack who's a bigot? It's because he's confirming her transphobic point of view. Now, people try to engage respectfully. I, for one, I don't engage respectfully with transphobes and homophobes, because I'm of the belief that civil rights are not debatable, even though it technically is debatable in certain countries politically, but I don't think that they're debatable. So my goal is to just insult them until they shut the fuck up, and I want to make it socially unacceptable for bigots to speak their mind. I want them to keep their bigotry, their transphobia, their racism, their misogyny to themselves. So
and your boy Chainsaw said this, you know, time and time again also, you know, bigots do not get a safe space. Transphobes, homophobes, racists, misogynists, whoever, you don't get a safe space. You're not allowed a safe space. And if you're willing to side with bigots, if you're willing to take a side and step in for and defend, you know, bigots on behalf of their bigotry, or just to defend them for their right to exist in their biggity world, you're biggity wrong, biggity bro. And that's where we here had coined the phrase behavioral TERFs. That's again for folks who are not necessarily you know, on the TERF train, but are more than willing to allow their intersectionality to stop at themselves and within their community. Calls it like it sees it. It is what it is, folks.
I usually don't try to engage respectfully. I just insult them and I move on. So I tweeted this to J.K. Rowling: "You're a repulsive bigot. Go fuck yourself, transphobic trash."
Wait
now,
for it.
shockingly, she saw that tweet and she decided to screen cap it, and she put me on blast, responding saying, "Me shares video of experienced psychiatrist," that's wrong, "who turned whistleblower, expressing his deep concern at high numbers of autistic children and children with internalized homophobia presenting at gender clinics. Them," and then she shares my tweet, letting her 14 million followers know where to find me. And find me they did. But before we get to that, my response was not indicative of most of the responses that she received. Sure, there were people that were just calling her a transphobic bigot, but there were people there who actually tried to engage respectfully, but she just bypassed them and went right to my tweet. Why is that? Well, it's because this crybaby wants to be perceived as the victim. Great point, Mike. And now she's writing an entire book on her perceived victimization.
Which we're going to talk about here. So we'll continue this just for a little bit to see if he you know, I saw this video earlier, see if he makes a good point. So I guess I should explain, this is that was Mike Figueredo from April 2022. This is Mike Figueredo from literally today, I guess, after I messaged him last night while preparing this for today. So this is literally me showing Mike's video of him showing his own video talking about a thing that he had talked about that inspired me during a situation that I had found myself in when it came to transphobic trash and the behavioral TERFs who love them dearly. So let's see here.
Just embarrassing and pathetic. It is. Now, look, if we want to take her at face value and believe her that this isn't actually a book about her, okay, I don't believe her personally, but, you know, keep that into, you know, take that into consideration rather. But just to give you a little bit of an update, so after she responded to my tweet and put me on blast, I got mass reported because of what I said to J.K. Rowling. But not only was I not suspended because my tweet did not violate Twitter's terms of service, but now I'm verified. So it seems like I was the winner in this exchange overall. All she did was signal boost me. And I wasn't the only one, because about a month earlier, or less than a month earlier actually, she did the same thing with the Vosh tweet. And I talked about that. I won't play a clip of that, but I'll link to that down below if you want to see my video on Vosh's exchange with J.K. Rowling. But I just love that she is writing a book now because she's received mean tweets. Presumably. Again, we can take into account what she said, but we don't have to believe what she said, as I don't. Now, look, do I actually believe that she's basing this book off of Vosh and my mean tweets to her? No, I'm not that narcissistic, right? But
I would argue against that. It's not completely unheard of, Mike.
I do believe that this is probably based, at least loosely, off of the thousands of people who have criticized her for her transphobic views.
Now, if you read her book, you know, honestly, you don't even have to read the book. There are plenty of examples posted online. Every time she tweets something, you just the stack of screenshots from this book. And you can see for yourself, it's basically hours upon hours of pages upon pages upon pages of just mean tweets and bullshit. Now, how much of this is verifiably real? It's questionable. How much of this is from her insane mind? Is very much something that I would consider. This is the woman who single-handedly created the entirety of the Harry Potter universe. It's not out of the ballpark to consider that she may have just made a bunch of shit up. But speaking of J.K. Rowling and her book and her tweets, we want to kind of circle the wagons here. So the reason that I had even reached out to Mike yesterday with regard to this subject, of course, I'd seen that he had tweeted about her new book. I want to say that Vaush also had tweeted about it. And then I caught this just yesterday. Let me see if I can pull this up. So it's like a whole freaking string on her Twitter feed. And I'll zoom this in just a little bit. So, here's the book, and it's from Robert Galbraith, who... Oh, let me pull that down. So from Robert Galbraith or Galbraith or whatever, Google that name and see what you find. You might be surprised. And that's all I'm saying about it. But you dig a little deeper here, and it's so for the record, and this is obviously a tweet that's not available for us to. Oh, maybe it is. Oh, I hadn't even looked at this. Oh, oh, Jesus Christ, this is on our fucking website. Wow. So this is breaking news as we're filming it. Bogus tweet pasted by K.E. Brightbill. Well, we want to go into that. So apparently that's from her website because K.E. Brightbill, this fake tweet was created when I deleted an entirely different tweet with a typo in it, then reposted. The creator claimed what I deleted. This is why it's always good to have an editor if you're going to be writing. Whatever. I'm asking you to delete this defamatory claim and acknowledge the truth. And it's from this user, K.E. Brightbill, at Twitter. I'd just like to note that anyone who can make a mistake on here, I've done it myself, but I've acknowledged as much. Whereas K.E. Brightbill has used a fake tweet to prop up her theory that I have an alternative account on which I'm virulently evil. Just so you know, I maintain an alternative account only to post pics of my knitting, currently working on a series of 1980s pop stars in 4-ply wool, very reasonable prices, and so on from there. So let's take a look at these tweets, as they say. So it's Catherine Brightbill, I can't stand J.K. Rowling. It's a hashtag because as much as people claim otherwise, this is a real tweet and delete from her. This was presumably intended to be tweeted on an alt. My copy of the screenshot was made by someone I know IRL who had notifications turned on and screenshotted it herself. Similarly, I thought it was a tattoo. I guess it is a tattoo. Tell me if I'm wrong. No one should live in a closet. And J.K. Rowling saying here, yes, they should. And then following that, oh, that's wow. I mean, not really more wow than the rest of her shit, but still, responded by Catherine Brightbill. It really just shows how virulently evil her behavior is when she thinks she's using an alt. What the actual fuck is the response. And okay, so and you wouldn't be able to actually see that tweet from the user's Twitter feed because, well, it's this. When you go to that user's Twitter feed, it's set to private, protected, the little locky thing. So I'm assuming that, and one can only assume based on what we've seen and what we've heard here and what we've seen happen in fucking real time, is that J.K. Rowling sent her 14 million? Yes, 13.9 million followers, the mob, which in several tweets here, 14 million psychotic, 8 to 80-year-old Harry Potter fans. One can only assume that this day and age, the vast majority of which are balls deep in the TERF mindset after this person for going against Mother, and in her defense and in her protection. One can only assume, but again, so this is the and I didn't even notice this. This is from her website, jkrowling.com. Opinions bogus tweet posted by K.E. Brightbill. A recent tweet posted featured an old screenshot of a fake tweet purportedly by me, which has been circulating for some years despite being thoroughly debunked as a fabrication. On this occasion, I have found it necessary to make it clear that the screenshotted tweet was not posted by me because the accompanying thread about it by @K.E. Brightbill was both false and damaging. Catherine Brightbill has now removed the tweet. And I mean, what the fuck else is there to say about this? J.K. Rowling is an absolute psychopath. Most of these TERFs are, and the behavioral TERFs who support them and love them so, they can all kick rocks and get fucked, because this is the same mindset that they all have. But the best way that I can summarize this again, to invoke Mike Figueredo here, this was a clip that he had mentioned on why it is that he does what he does, and why he would even get on Twitter and mention, if you're still watching this and you're not just like totally on the J.K. Rowling train and thinking that I'm some sort of a fucking psychobilly for bringing this up, let me at least clarify some shit for you, the viewer. So this is Mike Figueredo on 27 Questions podcast. This is an older podcast, but it's just basically been breathed new life into. I totally dig it. And I'll go ahead and leave a link to it here. And this was Mike asking his, I believe this was like the 23rd question, or 24th question, in response. And he basically sums it up perfectly. So let's take a look here.
And just came out was.
And I guess I should mention Yeah, right. I guess I should mention this was basically him describing why it is that he feels the need to be an ally, or as I've heard it referred to by my trans friends, an accomplice to the trans community. This is his story on being a gay man and coming out to his family and basically being completely shit on, which I can totally relate to, being a minority. And living in an area, being in a minority with this face, and living in growing up and going to school in a mostly white, very unbelievably conservative area, in the 1980s and 1990s. But let's hear from Mike.
And just came out was, how good it was to have so many straight allies, and how important that was for advancing us. And so, like, I want to be that cis ally to trans people. I want to be, I just want to help people who are in need. And I feel like queer people, they're disadvantaged in a plethora of ways, but there's, intersectionality. If you're a trans Black woman, like, the risk of murder in America is just insanely high. So I feel like this is something that's just such a no-brainer. Like, it's so easy. Like, if you could fast forward 25 years, looking back at this moment, the arguments that we're hearing would be absurd to anyone. Like, the way that we look back and hear, arguments for segregation during the civil rights era. Yeah. Like, when you look back now from 2050, you think, oh my God, they were saying this about trans people. What? They didn't think that non-binary people existed. What? So it's such an easy issue. And
Perfectly said. Couldn't have said it better myself. Without a 20-minute. But anyway, so that's my 2 cents. TERFs on the attack, at least this week. We'll see what happens as we move through the week, coming up on the weekend, and what's in store. So listen, if you know anyone, well, I don't yet. I'm just gonna say I'm not tagging J.K. Rowling in any of my posts. I guess my balls just aren't as big as Mike's. So kudos to Mike Figueredo, the Humanist Report, for standing up for civil rights for folks who don't necessarily match up with his community, but are still very much a part of his community. And to be honest, all marginalized people, all of our communities. If your intersectionality stops at your nose, you're doing something fucking wrong. So leave it at that.